Well, we're back. We came up with a genuine biker solution to this gasket that wants to slide out of place. We took some fishing line, tied it to that little rivet there that holds the three layers together, and taped it back there on the frame. When the cylinder head is on, we can cut that fishing leader right out of there. Okay, here comes the front cylinder head. And I'm going to set it on so carefully. Thought I did. And it's on. So now we just have to make sure the holes are lined up. And they seem to be. So there's one bolt. And it's going to hold that cylinder head in place so it can't fall, lift, rust, bust, or collect dust. Let's get a rear one here. Okay. That really irritated me. I've never had that problem. Of course, I'm used to using the old-time gaskets where you stick them down with a little sealer, a little grease. These gaskets, you don't use any sealant on them. So there's really nothing to hold it while you're installing the heads. Now you want to be careful you get those cylinder head gaskets positioned right, the oil holes and all that good stuff. But now we have the front cylinder head in place. Everything feels good. Everything feels very, very good now. So as soon as we get the fifth bolt in there, then we can position these cylinder heads as they should go. And there is the fifth bolt in. Okay, let's draw them down a little bit. Again, using this little dog bone wrench makes it real easy to get in there. We just have to be sure that we can still rotate the heads just slightly. I think I'm going to have to go around to the other side of the bike and see what we can do. Yeah, it's on there right. So I'm going to go around. I got to be careful here with my microphone wire. I just ran out of wire. And I can get over here to the other side. There we go. See, these bolts are just going in so easily. When everything is clean, that's the way those bolts should go in. There we go. There's all 5 of them. We want the heads to just sit down. Just sit down on the cylinders without being tight. We want to be able to rotate them that much. And that's what we need to do in order to fit the intake manifold. A lot of good jobs have been ruined by not fitting that intake manifold right. The intake manifold is not fitted right to the intake ports, then what happens is you have a vacuum leak, and we don't want a vacuum leak. They're down pretty good now. Now in the final torquing, they're going to pull down a little tighter, which you almost have to second guess that manifold for that. But we'll be there in just a moment. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Okay. Again, not quite snug yet. Still able to rotate them. All right. Let's fit the manifold, and then we'll be ready to torque these cylinder heads down. These are STD cylinder heads. They mount exactly like the originals. All right. Here is the intake manifold. And so I'm going to move that front head. I'm going to rotate that front head. Then I'm going to rotate the rear head. And that's about as close as we're going to get it. Now, by the time those heads are tightened down completely, that manifold will fit perfectly. Could you see that fit with the camera there? I hope you could. We're trying to make it fit. Okay. So there we go. As we snug these bolts down, I'm going to hold that head in place so that it's really all the way in. So I have my right hand on the rocker box as I tighten the first bolt. And all I'm going to do is just snug it down real good. And I can do the rest of the bolts the same way. Seems like a real long-winded way of putting a cylinder head on, but to have a nice fit is all the difference in the world in how it's going to run when you're finished. I, of course, am a lover of shovel heads. All right. Again, I'm going to check it, make sure it's all the way in, and it is. And I'm going to reach around, make sure that I've got the other bolts snug, because now is the time to have them snug. Okay, there's 3 of them snug. I'm going to go back here to this back one. And it's snug. And this center one on the left side. And it's snug. So now, I'm going to put that manifold in place again and check that rear cylinder head and hold the rocker box with my left hand while I tighten these bolts. And again, I'm just snugging them up. Now, I hope this video is not too long. I get the feeling it probably is. But this is what it takes to put a pair of cylinder heads on. Now once these heads are snugged, then we're going to want to tighten them to a torque value of 65 pounds. Now, this is a time when if you don't have a good torque wrench, borrow one. These things need to be torqued evenly. So we'll do one more check and then go around it with a torque wrench and torque all of these bolts. Now they have to be torqued in a crisscross pattern. Now in order to torque them in a crisscross pattern, it's not too difficult, but I like to do them one head at a time so I don't get lost as to where my position is on the cylinder head. Okay, I'm going to get this one tight, check that manifold one more time, and we're ready to torque them. Okay, and there it is. Both cylinder heads are on and snugged down. The manifold is just floating right in there like a champ. In fact, when we tighten these heads down good with a torque wrench, it'll be a perfect fit. Can we see that in there okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. All right, now all I'm going to do real quickly, there's 5 bolts on each cylinder head. I'm going to graduate the tightening of this thing. I will start with 20 pounds. Okay, and by putting this little torque adapter or dog bone at right angles to the wrench, you get a proper torque reading. If you had it like this, you would not, because you would have to calculate for the difference in length. The torque reading would be different. I just do it at right angles. So I'm just going to do one. It's at right angles to the wrench. I'm going to do 20 pounds. There it is. There's 20 pounds. I'm going to go to the other side of the bike, which I'm going to need my microphone cord for. And I'm going to the bolt that is directly across from the one I tightened first. Basically what you're doing is skipping one. It's like tightening a wheel on a car. So you've done 1, 2, and then over to this one. And to keep that thing at right angles for your final reading here. And here comes number 3 at 20 pounds. Then I'm going to go back over to the other side for this one right here. This is number 4. Let's make sure I have that at right angles to it. There's number 4. And then I'm going to go over here again and get the center one on the outside. This is number 5. Now this is so that you get an even torque. Got to have an even torque. And there's number 5. What I normally do is tighten them 20 pounds, then 40 pounds, then 60 pounds, and then do a final tightening at 65. Now, I don't think you need to watch me go through this a whole bunch more times to get that one down. But with both of these heads all torqued down and finished, It's done until we run it through a few heat cycles later on. So it's torqued down and ready to go. In our next video, I think what we're going to do, remember we still had to take those back to 65. Our next video, I think what we'll do is mount the top oiling lines. Most guys think you have to put them on when you put the heads on. The heads are on. We're going to put them on afterwards. So we'll be doing that in our next video. Until then, see you on the road.